everybody.
Hello. Hey.
Hope everybody's doing good. So this month, our podcast is actually collabing with another podcast, Cool and Unusual Punishment. So we are not just Brianna and Ron. We are also Tyler and Jody, or Jody and Tyler.
I like Jody and Tyler better.
I do too. Yeah.
So if you guys want to introduce yourself.
And I like Ron and Brianna better. So see, it works.
Yeah, it's usually because the older person goes first in the name.
We're starting already.
Yeah. So that's why it makes sense. So yeah, if you guys want to introduce yourself and talk about your podcast, we can talk about ours. Ours is obviously Queer in the Valley, where we talk about LGBTQ issues and pop culture and all that fun stuff.
My name is Tyler Haas, and I'm one half of the podcast program, Cool and Unusual Punishment. I'm sitting alongside my co-host, Jody Arnold. We do a podcast where we get drunk and tell weird stories and occasionally topple community leaders. Jody, how are you?
I'm good. So, all right, we talked to our special co-hosts for the night and decided that because it was a Halloween spooky episode that we were going to tackle a cold case from the area. And I think we've got a good one.
Yeah, I'm not too terribly familiar with this. So
Ron does not watch or care about true crime.
No, not really.
I
called it true murder.
Today before I watched the cheerleading documentary, I listened to 4 episodes of it's called Unjust and Unsolved. If you guys want to get mad about racism in the South, in prisons, listen to Unjust and Unsolved. It's a new podcast. It's really good. And it just made me mad the whole time. But yeah, so listen to that.
Yeah, that's what she wants, to be mad all the time.
Yeah.
All right. So
that's how women get things done.
Let's get this.
You want to go, Jody?
Yes.
I have to leave, so I'm going to walk away for 2 seconds.
I'm already having a really good time. All right, so I'm going to start this. All right, tonight we're talking about John Klinger. I'm going to start with an obituary that was printed at the time, and you're going to hear it and think to yourself, how is this a cold case? All right. John Klinger, 49 of Eau Claire, died Thursday, May 1st, 2003 in rural Eau Claire County.
How is this a cold case?
Well, hold on tight.
Okay.
You're going to just be blown away. He was born on February 17th, 1954 in Chippewa Falls. I'll skip around, not to diminish the life of John Klinger. Just some of it is not necessarily relevant to what we're talking about. I'm going to read this obit like I would. He's a historian, avid reader. The interesting, especially...
Please don't write my obituary.
We could go on and on. He was active in the AIDS HIV community as a mentor and teacher, helping others. He co-chaired the Wisconsin HIV Prevention Planning Council. He was a member of the Western region of the Ryan White Consortium. The super cool thing was that he was a former member of the Chippewa Falls School Board. Wait for it. Elected to that office in 1972, and at the time, he was the youngest person elected to public office in the United States.
Isn't that so weird? Isn't that so ironic?
Yes.
Yeah. And how he was the only openly gay member, which I'm not even sure. I talked to a couple of journalists who weren't even sure that was true. They just said that it was true. Oh, but that's another podcast.
Oh, Margo. Yes, we're going to have that with us for the rest of our life, we think.
Yeah, you are. Okay, so that's the nuts and bolts of the obit, okay? And so you look at that, and that was the first thing that came out about this, and you think, okay, this guy died in rural Eau Claire County. Doesn't say much about how, but that's not always uncommon, right? So first, I just want everybody to know, if you're wondering, in local, John Klinger is of the Klinger Farm Market Klingers.
That was my first question that I asked you when you said this. I was like, the Klinger Farm?
Yes, the Klinger Farm Market. His nephew, Troy, Boy, the last name sometimes. Amelese, Amelese, Amelse is the current director. So that's that he is of that family, which if you're from this area, you know, almost everybody knows of Klinger's Farm Market.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's three of us. One of us doesn't know it, but
Yeah.
no.
Ron is actually from Ohio.
Yeah.
Ron, how long have you lived here?
2.5 years.
Oh, okay. I would give you a
So-
pass then.
I'm a newer Eau Clairian.
Yeah. So we're going to rewind back to May 1st, 2003, which, if you recall from the obit, is the day that John died. On the morning of Thursday, May 1st, 2003, someone was walking along the bank of the Eau Claire River. What I'm reading right now is from the book by Robert Dudley, Cold Cases of West Central Wisconsin. That's where I got a good bulk of the information. He pulled some things together, and he gave me permission to read this verbatim. Someone was walking along the bank of the Eau Claire River about 7 miles east of Eau Claire when they spotted a body in the water. It was lodged against a tree. Authorities were called to the scene, and after they pulled the man from the water, they were unable to locate any identification or personal items that would help identify him. There were no reports of missing persons to match him up with. Investigators spent all Thursday working to identify the man's body, but they weren't able to do that. So John's parents were watching the news on Thursday night, and they saw the report about the drowning victim, and they suspected it might be their son. And so they contacted authorities. They drove to Sacred Heart Hospital on Friday morning, and they ID'd him. An autopsy performed at Sacred Heart Hospital in Eau Claire confirmed the cause of Klinger's death was drowning. Immediately following the autopsy, Eau Claire County Sheriff Ron Kramer, he said that there didn't appear to be any foul play, and investigators said they would spend the next few days just trying to piece together why Klinger was in the Eau Claire River. Subsequent investigation determined that Klinger had last been seen in the downtown in Eau Claire on Monday, April 28th. So,
Can I interject quick?
yeah.
I know that I think people all kind of generally understand that TV shows like CSI really overstate what is possible in forensic science and police investigation. But I think it's notable how much they kind of missed the mark. That the police could find a body, and because he didn't have his wallet, they're just like, we spent all day and we don't know who this guy is. How are we supposed to find out? He didn't have his name like on the inside of his collar. We looked at missing persons. There wasn't a thing. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah.
But was it a lot different in 2002? Or 4? When
2003.
3. Well, I'm in the middle. All right. So, I mean, how was the forensics? Not compared to today, even.
Well, certainly, like DNA has been a thing. I don't know if that's how they handle missing persons cases now, and like DNA wouldn't do you any good unless you had it on file. So at this point, this still doesn't sound like a cold case, right? This sounds like somebody who drowned. Well, the circumstances of the death are still unclear, said Eau Claire County Sheriff's Department Sergeant John Vogler. Quote, I wouldn't want to rule anything out this early. Well, things become a little more fuzzy when investigators start learning that there were a bunch of reasons why Klinger's presence in the Eau Claire River didn't add up as far as just an accidental drowning goes. First, he didn't own a vehicle. He didn't have a driver's license. That meant that however he got to the town of Seymour area near the Lions Youth Camp on Highway Double Q, he would not have gotten there by himself. He was not a fan of the water, so there would have been no reason for him to be in or near the water. Additionally, he recently had his hip replaced, and he walked only with the assistance of a cane, and he would not have been able to get down to the river on his own. Those things come to light, and suddenly this doesn't appear to be just a drowning. Well, investigators were unable to determine why John Klinger was in the Eau Claire River, and the case goes cold. 2 years later, in May of 2005, Klinger's family offers a $10,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person responsible. By this time, 2 years later, investigators were certain that foul play was involved and that John Klinger had been murdered. The last day he was seen was April 28th. He was found on May 1st. It does not say anywhere in here if they were able to determine how long he had been dead, because that would also, if you think about if he was last seen on the 28th, well, then was he with somebody alive until 2 hours before he was found, or was it 2 days before he was found? I don't know if they ever determined that.
And that's the thing, too, especially if he was drowned in the river. It takes a couple days before a body floats back up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't just automatically float back up. But I guess I don't know how far the Eau Claire River goes. But
yeah, I don't either.
He had to have probably got lodged pretty close to where he was. Because I don't feel like he would have been that, unless they took him way far out. But
now, did he have a significant other? Do we know?
I don't know that for sure. And not listed in anything here. There are some interesting theories coming up about this. The story goes on to say that at the time anyway, the Eau Claire County detective, whose name was Rochelle Zurek, said he did not go to that location by himself. We're not ruling anything out. So they are treating this like where he was found was not far from where he went in. And I don't know if that's just how you treat drownings like that. Was there a point in entry to the river where he would have been able to access it? But it still doesn't make any sense for a guy who just had hip surgery, who hated the water, and didn't have a driver's license to be by the river way outside of town, regardless of where it was. I
don't mean to be crass, but is whether or not you like the water something I need to publicly disclose in case I'm ever found? Do people like, I didn't know that's famously Tyler disliked the water. So keep that in mind in the future.
That's also weird. Like, how do people just know that?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, does Tim like the water?
Oh, I know. He hates the water.
So I guess maybe you do
know. Yeah, and I hate the water.
You also hate I guess I do know. Yeah, all right. Maybe it isn't.
I think though, if you're close to them.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I would
I don't know if you like the water.
Yeah, I would have no idea. But she's not going to know because she watches too much true murder stuff.
The good thing, though, is that Tyler and Jody both hate the water. So
let's all disclose our thoughts on water right now, just so we have it on record.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate the water. I just don't like being wet. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
I'm okay standing next to a pool.
I have so much to say about that, but I'm not going to say it.
I know where's your mind going?
It's just like I don't I like to be in the water, but then like having to get out and like change into dry clothes is such a hassle.
Yeah,
I brush your hair.
I don't mind water. It's mostly changes in state of moisture that I have an issue with.
Yes.
I think who's that guy who got in a bunch of heat about
Ben Shapiro?
Yeah, Ben Shapiro's got something.
Ben Shapiro's wife assured him that it is abnormal for women.
She enjoy the water. She's the opposite of WAP.
Yes.
I don't.
So back to John Klinger.
Can I interject? I wanted to ask earlier, was Klinger Farms an established thing in 2003? Yeah. I don't know how much of a known quantity they are, but was it like, would they have because you said they offered a pretty big reward. Is that Klinger Farm family money? Like,
I would think so.
Behind that? Okay.
Yeah. Yes. They've been established. I don't know how long, but for as long as I can remember.
Gotcha.
I could probably just give it a Google right now.
What's that?
I just Google it.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
Klinger Farm Market is a 5th-generation farm in business for over 100 years.
Good God. Okay.
Wow. Okay. So his sister, Susan Wallach, was even more assertive in stating what the family believed happened to her brother. He would not have walked down there, but we believe he was either murdered or left there to die in the river, she told the Chippewa Herald newspaper at that second anniversary of Klinger's death. We believe the person involved may be local. Our concern is that if there was foul play, it could happen to someone else. So then, if we fast forward to 2010, Sheriff Kramer says, I still believe it was someone local who knew. It's the lack of personal items that would have been with him that were not found at the scene, and we never discovered those items. Someone is out there. I'm totally convinced of that. What is really weird about this story is that I reached out. So Robert Dudley, the author of this Cold Cases book, I've talked to him before. He wrote a book about the Jacob Wetterling case. As far as he understood it to be, this case was not registered as a homicide with the police department in Eau Claire.
So it was never classified as a homicide, but the sheriff or detective was like 2 years later was like, I'm still convinced.
Yeah. When I talked to Rob, he told me that he had spoken with like a former detective for Eau Claire County, and they had spoke about how this wasn't technically ruled a homicide. But then when I went to the Eau Claire government page and looked up the homicide investigations, there is a little tab and it says John Klinger death investigation. For information leading to arrest and conviction of the person responsible, the Eau Claire County Sheriff's Office continues the investigation into the circumstances surrounding the death of John Klinger. He was last seen with a black leather coat, plaid shirt, and jeans. He frequented the downtown Eau Claire area, and then it gives the name of the sergeant to call. So even that doesn't say he was murdered. It's like they're trying to figure out the circumstances of the case.
I was going to say, is there just like, I wonder if it's just like lack of evidence?
Yeah, I suppose.
Do we know? I guess I didn't look into it because I just thought of it because that's my life. But like, do we have toxicology reports or like actual confirmation, like cause of death? Because if it was drowning, like I guess it's pretty hard to like figure out further.
I mean, I guess he could have been pushed or, did they do toxicology? He could have been drugged or something like that. I mean, I don't know if they checked anything like that once they determined he was drowned. And at the time it looked like, oh, this person fell into the water, which does happen around here.
It does happen around here. And I also think that probably this happened in 2003.
Yeah.
That I don't know. We have to think of like how Eau Claire was in 2000. It's not the Eau Claire of today.
No.
Eau Claire was very much a very small town. So I didn't even have that peace of mind to do that.
Yeah. Like a lot of things, it's easy for us to wonder this now after the fact, but I don't know if in that very moment, if they were like, oh, well, we found a guy and he was drowned. So that, as far as that case goes, is all I know about it. I know what also happens like with police departments and stuff is there's frustration on behalf of the public because they're wondering like what's going on. Does anybody even look into this case anymore? And they might have somebody on their radar, but they can't say anything about it because they're actively investigating it. So, who knows? There could be something going on that way. Yeah.
It's very fascinating. I mean,
Rob's gonna start watching true crime after this.
True murder. True murder stuff. I'm still going to call it true murder. No, it is fascinating because it's something that happened here, even though I didn't live here at the time, and it's a member of our community. That, and 2003 was a different time. I mean, could it have been a targeted attack? Could it have just? I mean, honestly, could it have just been a crime of opportunity? I don't know if we know. A crime
of passion. Nobody knows.
A crime of passion. Yeah.
Yeah. Or hate. There's a wild serial killer theory about this that
I
we'll
like
get,
that one.
yeah, that we'll get to in a minute, because it does mention the smiley face killer, which if you're from around here, anytime a college-aged guy dies, there's always comments on the news.
I thought that was the
postings.
Mothman and Slender Man. The Slender Man. Yeah.
Slender-
Yeah.
You've never heard of the smiley face?
No, I know the Slender Man thing.
You
I'm so we definitely should have done an episode on the Slender Man tonight.
We should have done the Slender Man because there is a Slender Man tie-in to Wisconsin.
I know. Yeah, that's why.
yeah, we're famous for.
Yeah, but not.
Jody, do we know if there's a Slender Man connection to this case?
Yeah.
Well, you
And
know
did
that
he eat cheese? That's what we need to know too. So
he was
yes.
creepy pasta.
Right.
Yeah. And he liked old fashions and cheese. That's all we need to know.
He went to the supper clubs, and that's where he met everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to get back to, there was this serial killer theory. There was a post on Web Sleuth, like literally one of the only posts about John Klinger on there. And Ron, if you're not familiar, Web Sleuth is this site for people who are into true crime and want to theorize true murder. And they kind of want to theorize, you know, in hopes of, oh, maybe we'll be able to think of something that has, you know, not come to light for the investigators, especially with cold cases that are kind of being ignored. But somebody had written, could John Klinger, 49, of Eau Claire, Wisconsin, be a victim of the Toronto serial killer Bruce McArthur? John Klinger fits the profile of McArthur's victims: gay, aged 40 plus, facial hair, possible glasses, darker skin or hair, used the internet. I like how that's something in 2003. Oh, use the internet. Was within 12-hour driving distance. The moment I read these things and saw this man's picture, I instantly thought of McArthur and his victims. So did you look up anything about this guy?
No, except that he attacked someone on Halloween, which makes an appropriate Halloween episode.
He attacked somebody and they died?
No, that person actually survived, which was even stranger. He went over to a guy's house and attacked him and then left. And the guy woke up and called 911.
So,
Wow.
like, he was sleeping while he was attacked?
No, he had come over. It was on Halloween, and I mean, this was off the wiki. I scanned, and it was he had come over to see his Halloween costume, and came over and immediately struck him over the head. And the guy woke up. The McArthur, the killer, went and confessed soon after.
Could you imagine just thinking that you're going to show how awesome your costume is to somebody?
Yeah,
And they
just
just-
swing
and
open
they
the door. Hey, look, I'm a
and then they-
wizard.
Yeah. And they whack you on the side of the head.
Yeah, this guy, Bruce McArthur he pled guilty to 8 counts of first-degree murder. This was back in 2019, so not that long ago, and it was in Canada. The title of this BBC News article about this is "Door Knock Saved Serial Killer's Victim." There was a last victim that he was about to kill. I can't find in the story where it says this, but I'm just going to guess that a door knock saved him.
It was never addressed again.
Yeah, I don't see it anywhere. Just one of those things, I guess.
I'm so glad he has nosy neighbors just checking in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just see it somebody over again and wanted to make sure they were going to leave. So why people thought there could be some kind of tie is because in 2003, this Bruce McArthur was arrested for assaulting a gay man with a metal pipe. He's only attributed to the deaths of 8 gay men in Toronto, but police speculate that there are without a doubt more victims in or outside the area. I do like on Web Sleuth that somebody's like, Toronto is only a 12-hour drive from Eau Claire, and Bruce McArthur traveled a lot, even as far as across seas to Italy as a landscaper and a traveling underwear salesman.
What kind of underwear, though? That's what matters.
Yeah.
Think about it. If you think about if you picture a serial killer, what job would they have?
Yeah.
I thought he was just a normal underwear salesman. I would never have guessed. Yeah, if you're gonna show up like at someone's door to sell underwear, the underwear have to be like, it's like when someone's selling a Kirby vacuum and they like throw coffee on your floor and vacuum it up and like, whoa, the vacuum was so good. This
and
underwear
he better be freaking hot too. Yeah.
Right.
I'm not buying
And,
underwear
like,
from
you have to think to yourself, 2003, if you opened the door to somebody in the early 2000s, when would it ever have been normal to have a traveling underwear salesman? Is there?
It's it still doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound like a real profession.
When I saw that, I was like, what? I mean,
I don't think that's ever been a real profession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, he opened up his trench coat and there it was, a bunch of underwear.
Well, no, I've seen that before, but that's just at a bar. So that's different. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know
This
either.
is like a little bit before, like, it's like the LuLaRoe kind of thing, like before leggings.
Yes.
You had to go around and sell it door to door
Yeah, just
of underwear
of underwear.
Before the internet.
before the internet.
Yeah.
Nets.
Internets.
Yeah, the
Well,
internet.
This person who wrote this post on Web Sleuths, and this is a place where, people throw out wild theories. So we're looking at this Web Sleuths post, and then it's in bold. John Klinger was a known buyer and seller on eBay, so no stranger to the internet, as well as an open homosexual and gay AIDS activist. And then it says in parentheses, is it safe to assume he browsed gay forums or dating sites if he was versed enough to sell items on eBay?
That was the litmus test for internet use.
Seriously?
I read that this afternoon as I was reviewing like the notes.
So this person is, making some leaps here. They do say that Bruce McArthur met most of his victims on the internet. And did I mention Toronto was only 12 hours away and that McArthur had a traveling job? John was found deceased of drowning under suspicious circumstances in 2003. Well, I'm certainly not.
But did this killer kill other people by drowning? I mean, that's the whole
question.
That is a great question. I don't believe so. And
You just hit them with pipes.
in the study with, Mr. Colonel Mustard in the study.
Ron would like to use this opportunity to promote Clue, the play.
Clue the
Coming
stage.
to the Children's Theater.
And
This October.
Moi is Colonel Mustard.
are you
Yeah.
serious?
Yes.
I always thought Colonel Mustard was the sexiest one.
Well, he is.
Oh, God, don't
You are so right.
Don't give a head, but if you could just see the way Tyler looked at you at that moment.
Could you just list Clue characters from most sexy to least sexy?
Like, oh, this is going to be a fight later. This is going to be a fight. Okay, I'm going to finish this up and then we're going to cut to a fun thing that y'all do on your podcast.
Yes.
But there's a couple of other kind of funny parts of this Web Sleuths post, which is certainly just somebody who's trying to get this figured out. It's very earnest at the very least. So good for them on that. John Klinger's drowning gets lumped in with the bizarre alcohol-related college deaths deemed the smiley face drownings by some, but it differs too much, and I strongly feel John Klinger should be considered a potential victim of Bruce McArthur, even though this case is out of the Toronto jurisdiction. Here's another bolded thing, okay? This man may have online connections to the Silver Fox alias and been a fling or even appear in pictures seized from McArthur. John Klinger may have even been a customer of McArthur's when he was either landscaping or selling underwear. Jesus Christ. And
I hope it wasn't boxers. Just let it be like briefs.
Nobody would buy a
something.
pair of boxers from a traveling boxer salesman.
Yeah.
Look, everything is going to be flowing and flopping in these.
Yeah.
And let me work on your front yard while we're at it. I got some brickwork you're going to love.
Landscaping. That's about it as far as kind of crazy internet theory and just plain evidence on this case.
I would say, have we also looked into Israel Keys if we're going to go this far into Bruce MacArthur? Let's go into Israel Keys because it's like Alaska's the same distance. I don't even know if he actually lives in Alaska.
Alaska's the same distance?
I don't know.
Okay, Sarah Palin.
Alaska 12 hours away.
Have you drove to Alaska?
No.
Alaska to Wisconsin.
I love this.
It is 57 hours.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's the same
Yeah,
distance.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, when's the Clue play coming out?
It is October 15th through the 19th, and they're only allowing 100 people in the audience each night. So,
wow.
Yeah, so tickets, it's going to be very limited. We have to wear masks on stage, and which they're kind of cool. They're see-through. But the one thing is social distancing is kind of hard to do when you're doing Clue because you have to move bodies across the stage.
Yeah.
With candlesticks in their head and whatever. So, but it's gonna be fun, and I'm excited to do. I love being in the theater, and it's been awful the last 6 months because there hasn't been anything.
Yeah.
So when this opportunity came, I was just glad I got the chance. So
to be the sexiest one.
That's it. Miss Scarlett, eat your heart out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you had mentioned it earlier. We, on our show, always do the Golden Girls Minute.
Yes.
So we sent you guys, you two, a clip.
And we watched it.
And
we watched
Brianna
the whole thing.
actually picked this one out. It was of the Golden Girls murder mystery.
Yes.
So you watched the entire episode?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
It's season 7, episode 2, and it's called "The Case of the Libertine Belle."
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're the only one that didn't watch it today. I watched it too today.
Oh, I could tell you every word of it. I've seen them all like 8,000 times. But isn't that what us gays do? Sit and watch the Golden Girls?
And eBay.
And eBay.
Yeah, you do eBay.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. And if you
Blanche, you're wearing my earrings.
I know that.
But when I asked you before where they were, you said you didn't know, and now you're wearing them.
Well, Rose, there could be 2 explanations. Either I was lying or I was wrong about the number of explanations.
Blanche.
Kendall.
Blanche, I must commend you again. I have a feeling we're in for a weekend none of us is going to forget.
Oh, I do declare. Your sweet words could charm the morning dew right off the honeysuckle.
That was good, Blanche. Now do Brer Rabbit.
I believe the fun is about to begin. Ladies?
I think I got to him, don't you?
Your eyes are as good as rolled back.
I do believe that things are going to turn out even better than I... Oh, Kendall is sitting down with Posey McGlynn. She is my main rival for that assistant's job. Oh, look at the shameless way she's flirting with him. Disgusting.
You flirted with him?
I'm from the South. Flirting is part of my heritage.
What do you mean?
Her mother was a slut, too.
We're back with the Golden Girls Minute, and we have just found out that that Tyler has only ever watched one episode, which I am almost speechless, which is hard for me. So, Tyler, what is the story?
Okay, so Golden
Start
Girls.
with your age.
I'm 31, but like just
That would be
initial
me.
impressions. Okay, so there's these 4 women, and I don't know if I'll get the names wrong, but one is a slut.
He called
And
one
by the way, I've
Maud.
never heard so many slut
Maud.
jokes
Or
in
Mitch
any
or something.
sitcom ever, as I heard in the one episode I watched. There are so many slut jokes, just pretty much nonstop. So there's a slut. Betty White is dumb. That's her character. There's the stoic one who's like smart and she solves murders. And then there's a woman. There's a 4th woman who is somehow in a group of 4 old women is somehow older than all the others. she is a whole generation older than the rest of the old women, to the point where she makes them look young. Have I accurately described the Golden Girls? This is my
Yes.
takeaway from my one episode.
Yes, you are. And the older woman is Sophia, who is Dorothy's mother.
Oh, okay. That explains
Yes.
it.
And
She had a stroke, and then her nursing home burned down, so she has to live with them now.
Oh my God, this is.
And in one episode, they try to say that she was the one that burned the nursing home down.
What year is when was this on?
it was in the mid 80s, so it was like 85 to like 92. I think
Yeah,
it was
86 or something to 92.
And I always have a special history with it because I was in high school when that show was on.
Sure.
So even as a young, as I would say, young gaylet, we watched the Golden Girls every week. And
Yes.
the fact that 30 years later it still resonates is pretty big. You know, there's not very many shows. I think maybe I Love Lucy, but there's not a lot of shows that resonate 30, 40, 50 years later.
Yeah.
You know?
And you laughed.
It definitely felt like edgy in a way that like, because I grew up on Seinfeld, and I remember the masturbation episode of Seinfeld was very like controversial at the time. The slut jokes especially, I was like, this was like from the 80s, and like this seems like you couldn't get it on TV at the time. I was maybe wrong that this show was so like it seems ahead of its time for how old it felt when I was watching it.
Yeah. And it's
It
older
was.
women.
Yes, and also that so that it's not sitcom characters you would expect.
Yeah.
And you have some, and yeah, so I guess we should explain that the episode, it's my favorite episode personally, and that's why I want to do it. And it's obviously October, so Halloween, is that Blanche got, which is a slut, got to choose what to do for her job's team outing. So for some reason she works for a art gallery, but still they do really fun things like have team building exercises. And she chose a murder mystery weekend, and of course all the girls go because otherwise there's no point in a show.
Yeah.
And
they need to get the discount.
And they get the discount.
Exactly.
So they go to the murder mystery dinner, and then they think it's over, and Blanche went to go sleep with her boss, but she found her boss dead in her bed. And so then it's like a whole nother murder mystery. And everybody, and they are saying that Blanche did it, but then Dorothy solves it, but then it was just a joke. It's a whole thing, but it's the best episode. Really good jokes.
And the slut jokes are in almost every episode. I mean, there might not be as many as there was in this one, but there's always at least one.
I think this episode is top comedy for both Betty White and for
Rue McClanahan.
I know God, why am I not with Sophia? What's her name?
Oh, Estelle Getty.
Estelle Getty. Yes.
Yes. Putting all the stuff in her purse.
Yeah. It's
I
and
broke
like
out
her,
laughing.
just like her.
When she tries to lift her purse.
Yeah, I was in my office working while I was watching it, and it was the part where she like her clapbacks to Dorothy, like while she was while she was solving the murder.
Yeah.
Was like top notch.
Yeah.
And so we were gonna ask you what Golden Girls you were. Well, I am very Dorothy because I'm one of those sarcastic, imagine that, a sarcastic gay man, sarcastic, kind of quick-witted, and I'll just look at you like you're just the stupidest ass in the world, like she does. Brianna thinks that she is more Sophia because she's kind of also a kind of an asshole. type
I don't
thing.
think Jody would. I think Jody probably knows me on a more personal level than you do, so she probably is like, yeah.
Mhm.
I think you are. I think you're a Sophia.
Mhm.
And then what are you
What would
two?
you two be?
I don't think I know the Golden Girls or myself well enough to self-ascribe.
I would put Jody as a Dorothy.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. I can see that.
I feel like, I don't know, maybe before we met each other.
I was gonna say you're Blanche before.
Yeah.
Is it because of the age of the bed?
No, I'm just kidding.
he's gonna walk away now.
Yeah.
I would.
Well, you can fight for that. Fight back.
I mean, maybe I'm a Blanche.
It's a,
Who
you
would?
just gotta own it.
Okay.
Yeah. Who would Tyler be in the Golden Girls universe? You'd be like a Miles. How much have you watched?
Oh, I don't think
Oh.
Miles was in that episode.
No, he
but-
wasn't.
No, because it is hard because truly, I mean, you're not really a Blanche, but you're also like, you're witty and funny, but you're not like Dorothy and you're not dumb.
Well, Rose I wouldn't call dumb necessarily. I think she's naive.
No, I'll call her dumb.
I mean, I really do think she is somewhat, but it's more naive because she was not ever lived outside of St. Olaf, Minnesota.
Yeah.
So, I think that's really what it is. She was more naive than dumb.
Yeah.
He can be your Stan Spornak.
Stanley Spornak, the king of rubber poop. Yes.
Can someone explain the joke that's just been made?
Stanley is Dorothy's ex-husband, but he was like a door-to-door salesman of like novelty
But not
goods.
underwear.
Yeah, novelty
Of rubber
items.
poop?
Look, we
Yeah.
solved the murder again.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he made his fortune on plastic poop. Yeah, that's what he made his fortune on. Selling
Yeah.
plastic poop.
Okay.
I guess that's and we are here to answer your questions now, Tyler. What are your questions about Golden Girls?
I guess that was it. I just wanted to try and lay it out what I saw. The one woman who was like, I thought it was a sitcom about these four older women, and then there was one that was like stooped a little lower and a little older than the other three, and I was like, wait, there's two tiers of okay, but yeah, Betty White Rose, is that her name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She reminded me of the Dean in Community, if you've ever seen Community. The Dean has a sort of he's not dumb, but he has this sort of childlike like puppy dog innocence. Rose has had this like sort of clueless like innocence to her.
Yeah.
Before Golden Girls, she was on Mary Tyler Moore show.
Yes, she was.
She played a slut.
Yes.
Okay.
It was really kind of fun that she played the slut, and then she goes to playing kind of the dumb, naive
Yes. I forgot
Yeah.
about that. I forget what her name was on Mary
woman.
Tyler.
Sue Ann Nivens.
Yes. Because I love that show, but I completely had forgotten about that.
Mhm.
And I'm 41, so I was alive when the Golden Girls was on, and I do remember it being
I
on.
wasn't. Mhm. No.
Can I ask
No.
one more
Yes,
basic
you were.
question?
You're older than me, aren't you?
Like 20-fold.
Shut it. I am not 20-fold.
He's hitting 60.
I am not hitting 60. I am 52 years old. Thank you.
I am 52 years old.
Yes.
Well,
Colonel Mustard. The sexy one. Don't forget that.
That's right.
I was reminded tonight how much I do. I mean, I was laughing at the show. I was thinking to myself, like, okay, all the slut jokes and stuff. I was thinking, like, okay, well, this show definitely couldn't be made now, right? Is it because of their age that we find that funny?
I think so. And actually, I heard Betty White said in an interview that show pushed limits that nobody else could because of their age.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's several shows kind of like that. Like if you go back to the 70s, Archie Bunker, those type shows couldn't be on TV today either.
Yeah.
The Golden Girls, though, I really do think, again, they were ahead of their time.
Yeah.
And the stuff that they get away with on there is stuff now that you'd see on Netflix. That show could not be on regular TV.
I mean, and
network.
the idea that they're, doing the slut jokes about a woman who is old is like funny, and it's also kind of great that there's somebody who's that age who would still be classified that way, right? Like that's kind of awesome.
But then, but then you like think about it, like to them, like they were old, but they're all like they're all the same age, or they're all living their life. Like think about it, us now and like our friend group. Like I have a friend that's, well, maybe she's not a slut anymore, but like if you think about it, you're 30 and you're so slut. Like, but that's like a joke that we make in our friend group that like you're a slut still. But you know what I mean? So like to them, they probably don't feel like they're 50s and 60s.
Yes.
But like to us, it's like, oh, these old women are still having sex. But then like when you get that age, you're like, yes, we still have sex.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
Well, and if you really watch it, and hopefully you can watch other episodes, think about them as 4 gay men, because that's what they are. It is exactly if 4 gay men were living together.
Well, why can't it just be women?
It could be, well, gay men are a lot bitchier.
Jody, are gay men more bitchier than women?
Boy, women can be pretty bitchy. I don't even know if I think women get to a certain age, and I'm not sure if it's so much bitchiness as they just stop caring. And so that opens like a floodgate of, there's like
that's
a
where my mom
filter
is right now. 56, that's where it happens.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I still have a few years to go. Good.
That's when the floodgates of not caring starts. It's 56.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Mine started about 20 years ago. Yeah.
Can I ask one more question about the Golden Girls?
Yeah.
Why did they all live together? Or how do they all know each other? And why
Okay,
did they live together?
So I don't even think it's really touched upon in episode 1. It's touched back in like an episode. So Blanche owns the house and her husband died. So she owns a house. So she was looking for roommates. And Dorothy was recently divorced from Stan. Not recently. Yeah, recently.
It was recently.
And then Rose's husband also died. And she moved to Florida from Minnesota to be closer to her children. And then Sophia's not particularly a part of the first couple episodes, because then Shady Pines burns down and then Sophia comes.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Just needed the
first
setup.
episode, they actually have a gay housekeeper.
A gay cook.
A gay cook.
Yes. And for some reason, they wrote him out. And I think that might even have been too much for the 80s to have that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wow.
Now you're going to wake up at 6 a.m., Jody, and Tyler's going to be awake binging.
Yeah, I have 7 seasons to catch up on, so I get all the setup for the episode I have.
I will absolutely watch the show with you if you're into it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, when I was watching that tonight, I was reminded how funny it was, and how, I mean, I don't know how old Estelle Getty was when she was doing that show, but
she wasn't the oldest. Betty White's the oldest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is Betty White just a timeless God figure?
Yeah.
Someday she'll just be like, I'm done here on Earth, and she'll just ascend into the clouds.
Also, like Rue McClanahan and the woman that she was sort of like at odds with in that episode, who, this woman's going to steal my man. I was like, these women look great. They were wearing these gowns and like they had really good legs and everything. And I was like, damn, these women look good. And
I think they're originally like in their 40s or like 50s.
Are you
I think they were in their 50s. I told Tim the other day that Blanche Rue McClanahan's the youngest of all of them. Yeah. She is what my age is now.
Yeah. Blanche is really my Colonel Mustard.
Started, yes. Uh-huh.
But
Blanche is the Colonel Mustard.
All of them were already established actresses in Hollywood, so it's like Hollywood 50. Like Jennifer Aniston.
Well, the only one really wasn't well known was Estelle Getty. She did things, but not like the other 3. The other 3 were very well established.
Yeah.
Imagine a show like The Golden Girls now where one of the women is Jennifer Aniston. And they're like, ladies.
I think they're like reprising a version of it. I think
J-Lo.
what is it? Yeah, J-Lo and Jennifer Aniston.
And
I heard that they're doing an all black
What's her
one.
name?
Yeah, it's an all black one, and the one from Blackish, the wife from Blackish.
She's going to be in it.
She's in it.
And Regina King, she's
Yeah.
going to be in it.
Oh.
And I think Alfre Woodard is in it too. So I don't know who the other is, but I know they're doing this. Tracy Rossell, Ellis Ross is going to be in it.
Wow. Well, that might be the only way I'm cool with that, because otherwise I don't know if I really need to see 4 white women do that again.
I do think 4 black women could make that show incredibly awesome, even more. But I think they're using the original script too. So they're not changing the scripts. That's what I had heard.
Wow. And the Golden Girls mansion was just sold. Did you see that? And the new owner is putting up like a gate.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah, like who would buy that place, just to put up a gate? Anyway, should I tell you one more thing about John Klinger?
Yeah, to go back to this murder.
Now that our Golden Girls minute was a half hour.
Let's talk about John Klinger's.
Okay.
So this all has happened, and we had mentioned at the start, like John Klinger was involved in, the AIDS HIV community in many ways. As a result of that, there's some lasting reminders. And the first story that came up, Brianna, was the one I'd sent you that was about the center and the library, the memorial library that used to exist at the original center, which is now what your center is, correct?
Yeah, so it's the same 501c3 charter as our center. But it's like with the original founders 10 years ago.
Okay. Do you know offhand where the old center used to be located? Was it on Barland, or why do I have that in my head?
Jason would probably know. Where was it on? I always think about when Jason says it was on the basement of a church.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I think this is even older than that.
Yeah. And
I think we had it on here somewhere on one of our chats.
Yeah, the link to the story probably will have it, because for some reason I didn't put the text in there. Volume 1 had done an article back in 2011, and it was called More Than a Building, and there was a mention in there of the John Klinger Memorial Library, and they were like selling or giving away the books from that library, because I think that center closed for a period of time. Is that correct? And then was resurrected as what the center is now?
Yeah. So with this center, it was like a resurrection. So there's a lot of people, like the building closed, and then they went to like the basement of a church, but there was never like a physical center working space as we have now.
Yeah.
And since I think 2017 is when we became an actual physical body again. And while some of our members like Jason and Dan have worked for 10 years to make sure that we're still like up to date with taxes and we don't lose our status. Yeah, this was the old original center. It's all the same thing, but just a different generation.
So there's that. Then there's in the Chippewa Area School District, there was a scholarship that was established in 2004 in memory of John Klinger. This scholarship goes to a student with expressed interest in political science, history, social studies, government, or world affairs. And I suppose that's because of his tie-in to being the youngest person elected to the school board. And he served 12 years is how long he was on the school board.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then at the AIDS Resource Center, this was a Leader Telegram article. At the time of this article, the AIDS Resource Center of Wisconsin, it was called, was on Dewey Street. And there's a quilt there made of Klinger's ties.
Should I go down there when they're open and ask if they still have it?
Yeah.
I should. I'll email them and then ask if I can come down.
Get a picture of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, when this all came up, John Klinger, there are certain communities in which obviously he's important because there are these lasting things that have lingered. It seems strange at the time that there just wasn't more written about his absence from the community. And I don't even know, I suppose in 2003 even, maybe there would be a media blackout because of the communities he was involved in. I don't know what the environment was like.
I would say that like Eau Claire was a pretty conservative city back in 2003. It's weird because if you think about it now, like if he was on the school board, the Chippewa school board for 12 years.
Youngest person in the United States.
And he comes from a very prominent, rich, known family. Like the fact that this was not covered more and there was not more resources put towards it, obviously it's all assumption. But if he's also part of the LGBTQ community and the HIV community, like, I guess we just don't know how. All signs point to that's why it was not covered and not cared for. I can only go so far into talking about Eau Claire Sheriff Department on a podcast. But I think that it definitely probably played into it. And I guess I just don't know, like, the idea that an openly gay HIV positive man was on the school board of Chippewa today would probably be shocking.
That's wild.
Yeah. What do you think, Ron?
It very well could be. I mean, I don't know Chippewa as well as you two. I do know it's a lot more conservative. But, I mean, I do think that does show something about John Klinger, too, that he resonated enough to be on the school board.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You know, he obviously was not only the youngest, but he was probably pretty smart just to even be on it and to be an openly gay man. When was that? Probably in the 80s, I would imagine.
Yeah, he was first elected in 1972.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's even nationwide. That would have been a big deal.
Yeah, into the 80s. Yeah. So that's pretty rad.
Yeah, I wish I would have got to meet him, you know?
Yeah, it's almost like weird because, like, before you brought this case up, I've never even heard of it, which is weird since we are affiliated by our center having a memorial library to him. But also because we are hugely in the LGBTQ community. Like, it's not that, like, we just haven't heard of it from him, but, like, we aren't doing anything as a community. And it's weird because I feel like it's a big deal for how far he got in our area. I mean, because you have the thing in 2003. So, what, Matthew Shepard was murdered in 2002?
No, I think it was, I think
98?
it was 90, late 90s. I think it was late 90s.
So, like, it's 2003 is only 5 years after that. I mean, yes, that was Montana or Wyoming, but you can't say rural Wisconsin was much better or is so much better in those areas. He could have easily made enemies. Easily. So I don't know. It's just weird because we, like, I guess we might not have made such a big deal about, like, let's say Joe Luganville getting elected to school board as much as Joe Luganville made it a big thing that he got elected to school board. So maybe, like, it's just, like, weird because, like, we're going to remember that forever as Joe Luganville being the youngest in Eau Claire to ever be elected openly LGBTQ. Everybody's going to know that.
And a cooking show with Martha Stewart. Don't forget.
I assume that, like,
and the Food Network.
John Klinger was probably openly gay in his life, though it was, like, no secret, but he probably wasn't, like, spewing around, like, I'm an openly gay elected official.
Yeah.
But you didn't do that in those days
But you didn't do those in that
days. Yeah. You couldn't do it. People would know, but you wouldn't go around announcing it in the 70s or 80s, really. So if he did, kudos to him.
Yeah. There's a confidential tipster line, 715-839-4982. If anybody's listening, there has to be somebody. He was 49 when he died in 2003, less than 20 years ago. So there's absolutely a community of people that knew John that might know something.
Yeah, it would be nice to get some closure.
Yeah. Well, hey, this has really been good.
It's been great. Now that I know what a murder case is, or true murder crime, and I do know who the Slender Man is, but I still don't know who Smiley Man is.
See,
so
when you describe it as true murder, you're leaving out your Ocean's 11 style heist crimes, and those are also important.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a really good sneak peek because Jody is going to become a private investigator.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be her assistant. Tyler's gonna be the assistant to the assistant, and
I'll be Charlie.